So my first question is, how would you describe your sound? I know I've seen a few people kind of lean towards the blues side, but then listen to it. There's a bit. I feel like there's always a bit more to it than that.
Yeah, I think it's hard rock music with like a heavy blues influence,
Mm.
uh, or like a yeah. It's a difficult one to describe because I don't really know myself. It started out as like more of a blues rock project, but admittedly, it's like it does take its own shape, right?
Mm.
Eventually, so I think loosely speaking, it's like heavy blues rock. Um, but there's a lot of different kinds of sounds, from like the '90s stuff to like, I wouldn't go as far as heavy metal, but like maybe old school heavy metal, like '70s metal,
Mm.
influences. And they were all, if you think of like old Sabbath and whatever, like that was all kind of bluesy anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, true.
So that's kind of the best I've got
Yeah.
on a, like a loose description.
No, yeah, sounds good. And so the tour kicks off in just a couple of days now, right?
Yeah, it's on the go at the moment actually.
Oh, cool.
The strategy that I've taken for this year, having basically settled in the UK it's a year now, so March 2024. It's been a year, and then was just building up the networking, the band, and my contacts in the industry, and then sort of leveraging that throughout this year. So I'm not doing like extensive on the road touring. It's kind of sporadic. So like lots of weekends, and then the odd like midweek show, all around the UK, just to like, yeah, just to navigate the landscape and just like kind of build it up from that kind of perspective.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Is it local supports pretty much every night, right? I didn't see any like set support throughout the whole few
Yeah,
shows.
yeah. I haven't been working with anybody in particular. It's just basically the venues who would be recommending certain support acts, and of course, yeah, promoters, etc. would be reaching out. Um, it's more like, I don't know if support is the right word, because a lot of times like these guys are like as established as we are, or as I am, should I
Yeah.
say, and that seems to be something that exists in the UK, which I've had to like wrap my head around, which is like this support act and then like headline thing. That's quite like it seems to be the way that the industry like portrays that thing, where I guess in SA we were just like, we just did music together,
Yes, yeah.
and I understand that like this is the main band or the main artist or whatever, but I just think the industry is so like, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors all the time about like who's doing really well and who's not, and at the end of the day, like, you just have to rock up to the gig and fucking smash it as hard as you can.
Yeah.
And like, if you have musicians jumping on the lineup with you, then you should be thanking them from the bottom of your heart for them being there and like putting in that effort,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of slowly getting towards more of people are working together. I feel a bit more recently. There's a lot more like co-headlining kind of tours and stuff where people are swapping around and that kind of thing, which is nice.
Yeah, because we're all in the same boat at the end of the day. It's I don't care what anybody says, man. It's the toughest industry, like, to try to make something out of. I don't care what anyone says, man.
Yeah, definitely.
And all of the like interviews and all the stuff we do are like lots of brave face, like, we're doing so well and like it's going so well.
Yeah,
I know
right.
behind the scenes it's not. I know it's not. I know that it's tough, and some shows are like really amazing, others aren't, and then you have issues with booking schedules and touring schedules and the costs of like running the whole thing, and it's like such an intense process, So really, hello.
Popped up.
All right. Yeah, man. So I think the perspective that I've taken just since I've been in the UK is like really just to it's just like a position of gratitude. Like the fact that I'm even playing shows in the UK,
Mm.
it blows my mind. Like 10 years ago, if you told me like I'd be living in the UK and touring all around, I would have said no ways. It's not.
Mm.
It's not even possible. And here I am doing that. So just like I'm just doing the best that I can.
Mm. Was it the music that made you move out here then, or?
Um, yes and no. It was definitely part of it, but my wife actually got an opportunity with a company that basically we were able to leverage for like visas and so forth.
Oh, cool.
So and that was like a real blessing. But of course, as far as my music career was concerned, that was just like it was a trajectory that I wanted to be able to fulfill, and I just really wasn't sure how I was going to do that without something like that, to be able to leverage.
Yes, yeah. And I know you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but is there any more kind of differences you can think of between the scene back home compared to over here?
Yeah, you can't even compare them really. The UK industry is like it's way, way, way bigger for rock and roll. That is, like the music scene in Africa is obviously massive. If you think about like house musicians and like electronic music and that Afro, I'm a piano, etc. Like that industry is massive, but the rock and roll industry is much, much smaller. So there are fans, absolutely, and there is a scene, especially in South Africa. I would say I don't know how much of a scene exists in the rest of Africa. Like it would be very niche, in places like North Africa, etc. I could be wrong, but I've never came up on any tour schedule or anything like that. So
yes,
the South African scene definitely has like hard supporters, but it's way smaller. If I think about the tour schedule and the way that you could tour in the UK and then also branch that out into Europe.
Yes.
Versus like what you could do in South Africa itself, it's not really even a comparable thing.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you kind of writing some more stuff. I know you put out a single last year, and then it's been a little while since we've had kind of anything else. Are we kind of planning another EP or?
Yeah, I'm busy finishing up an album, I suppose.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so the tour that we're doing now is called the Blood and the Blues tour, and that's going to be the album release as well. So as I mentioned earlier, there's a couple of things that have like sort of not hindered the progress, but there's just some things that have had to be like re-looked at.
Yes.
From a distribution perspective, but yeah, it's pretty much gone through the mastering process now,
cool.
and it's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there. It just needs to finish that process, and then the release schedule, etc., will start. So
yes. Yeah, that's almost as much work as anything else these days as well, is trying to build the hype and all that kind of thing.
Absolutely. It's like a 24/7, like just ticking all the, not even doing performances, just making sure the music is as high quality as possible,
Yeah, exactly. Ooh. And is it just you that writes it then, or are you kind of bringing your band in to do a few bits, or?
I've been through kind of transitional periods in that sense. So the short answer is I do 95% of the writing, but it's always influenced by the people that you work with, regardless of whether their contribution is something that's going to come up in like a royalty, you know.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of a more articulate way to phrase this, but it's like, for example, the way that the music sounded when I performed it live with the musicians in SA versus the musicians in the UK is different. Even though it's the same song, even though the gents that I'm working with here had nothing to do with that writing process, the songs still sound different because obviously their style and their musicality is naturally gonna be portrayed.
Yes.
You know, their personality comes out. And I worked with some amazing musicians in the UK. So, you know, I think what I try to do is I do write, as I say, 95% of the music. In SA, we got to a point where the musicians I was working with were contributing way more to the songwriting process. But I do try to leave it as fluid as possible and as open-ended as possible, because I know that the way that it's going to be portrayed in its highest form to the audience is ironically by kind of letting it go.
Yeah, true.
Not worrying about that. Actually just letting those musicians do with the music what they would, you know, because as soon as you try to like box anything, then you're not really getting the fullness of those personalities, and that's what makes them unique, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Have they done much of the recording of the album then, or has it mainly just been you kind of doing all the different parts?
Yeah, they haven't done any of the recording in the UK. I actually did all the recording in SA. Well,
okay, cool.
Yeah, 90% of the recording I did there, and then I did some stuff. So it was still being mixed and mastered by my friends at Studio 31 in Johannesburg, but I was sort of doing it virtually. Some of the stuff was being done virtually, so I'd like record it at home in my home studio.
Oh, cool.
And then send it back to SA to get processed, essentially, you know.
Yes.
So
yeah.
It's amazing what you can do today, like with technology, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
The fact that this industry allows for, I think it's always allowed for that technological like advance, you know. And it's been an interesting process to be able to do it that way. Yeah,
it sounds pretty cool to be able to send it so far and work with so many different people on it, for sure.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, I record a guitar track right here in this room that I'm at, and then I just, you know, transfer it over, and we flesh the song together. Like, it's not the ideal way that I like to do it. From in the past, I've liked to do it kind of old school.
Yes.
In the studio, and we track all like live guitars. 99% of the guitar tracking and stuff is actually, there's a ton of acoustic guitar stuff, and like the album is, I would say it's more of a compilation. I'm reluctant to call it an album, although I suppose we're just dealing with semantics. Right?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, I really wanted to showcase like different facets of my musical style, and this is why the question that you asked me in the beginning is difficult for me to pin down, because I do think that there are lots of influences that all form this thing, you know, and people are going to be able to make up their own minds. Like some of the like diehard blues community, like, nah, this guy's not real blues, you know.
Yeah, right.
And then like on the hard rock side or whatever, it's like, but it's too bluesy for this, and I don't really care, you know. I just kind of do my thing, and what that's done is allowed me to kind of showcase these different elements. So there's tracks with like tons of acoustic guitar, and then there's ones that are like really stripped down with like maybe 3 instruments, and then there's like full on like hard rocky kind of, almost like, I wouldn't say prog, but like progressive-y kind of blues rock music, where they like longer songs, longer structures, and like these moving parts, you know. So you know, and I think I think it's kind of like a showcase.
Mm.
You know, that's why an album sort of has the same flavor like all the way through. Where something like this, I don't know. I would be interested to see, or I am interested to see what listeners are gonna think about it, and the presentation of that. You know, how will people like yourself and like other critiques, music fans,
Yeah,
you know, journalists, fans, etc. Like how they digest that presentation of the music's going to be, and it will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing it. Are you playing much of it live, or?
Yeah, plenty. Almost all of it.
Oh,
actually,
nice.
We're doing live, which is cool. It's cool in a way because it's like these songs get to be refined in the live process.
Yes, yeah.
This is why some of the process is taking longer. There's already stuff that I was like, it's developed in the live thing, and I'm like,
exactly,
I wish I had put that on the record. You know, it's too late. Obviously, if it's already been stamped. Otherwise, you just go back and forth forever, and you never finish it. You know?
Right.
You have to like put your foot down eventually.
Yes. And so obviously you've got touring stuff up until the end of April, right?
Well, really, it's like the full year. There's dates all the way up until December.
Oh wow, cool.
So, but like I said, it's not intense on the road, five shows in a row type of touring. It's like it's spread out over a whole year, and there's probably like 40 dates.
Okay, that's still pretty good going though.
Yeah. It's I mean, in 2023, I did like 150 performances, something like that. To be fair, there was a build-up, or it was made up of like lots of different types of shows that I was doing. It wasn't only like I was doing 3 different formats of it as well. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, so that essentially the first part of this tour is till the summer, and then from the summer onwards will be the second part.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And then just as a kind of slightly lighter question to leave you off with, do you have a dream tour lineup you'd want to be a part of?
Man, there's so many like brilliant artists in the UK. That's such a difficult one. Okay, I think does it have to be UK artists as well, or US artists?
Oh no, yeah, anyone. I think I've had a few people go, okay, well this is my Alive collection, and this is the ones that are no longer with us, and all this kind of thing. So yeah, whatever.
I think if I could be like, I don't even have to be performing, man. If I could just be if I could have just been on the road with like prime Led Zeppelin, I think that would be
that would be
like
sick.
peak Zeppelin. I think that is it. That was like I think that was rock and roll, like at the top.
Oh yeah, 100%.
In my opinion. But then like modern cats, I would really love to be. I'd love to work with Bonamassa if I could.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Anything with Bonamassa, just like have deep respect for his whole thing, the presentation of the music, the quality of the shows. Like, I'm not an intense fan of all of the music, but like I think it's hard. It's undeniably good, like all the way around.
Yeah.
You know, like the way that he puts together his whole thing is just amazing. And then some of the UK guys like Chris Barris.
That'd be a cool combo.
Cardinal Black is like a whole different side, like a different type of sound. But I think, Chris Barris and his band is like that hard rock kind of thing. And then Chris Buck on the other side, and the Cardinal Black is just such a soulful.
Yeah.
You know, what an absolute sound, man. But there's a lot. Florence Black is a band I've discovered in the UK who's like really gnarly. And
it's so good.
Bad Touch is another one.
Oh yeah, I love Bad Touch.
Good. There's a lot. There's a lot in the UK. It's actually quite a difficult question to answer straight because I'm going to forget a whole bunch. But I've seen some unbelievable musicianship in the UK.
Yeah, it's a really good scene at the minute for sure.